Dear Oprah Winfrey, newsflash, there is no such thing as your truth. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes, you're watching MRCTV, and this is your reality check. So Oprah Winfrey made headlines at the 75th Annual Golden Globes last night for saying during her acceptance speech that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have. Your truth, not the truth, oh no, your truth. In fact, NBC found Oprah's truth so profound that they openly declared her our future president in a tweet that they later deleted. But there's only one glaring problem. Oprah's statement, it's bull. See, here's the thing about truth. The whole point of truth is that it is what it is, whether you like it or not. That's the entire meaning. If it weren't, then any criminal could argue that even though the evidence might prove that he did something, that's not his truth. So then he can't be held accountable for it. So maybe Harvey Weinstein molested all those actresses and that's their truth, but maybe it's not his truth. So really, who's to say? You see the problem here? In fact, truth does not actually depend on you one tiny bit. There's the truth, and then there's your opinion. So really the phrase your truth is a self-contradicting idea, and maybe that's Hollywood's biggest problem. Maybe they've been too busy concentrating on their truth to bother exposing the abuse that was actually happening. Maybe they were so focused on what they wanted to believe that what was actually occurring just flew right out of the window. And it's funny how that seems to happen an awful lot in our society these days, doesn't it? Like a baby's a baby until somebody decides that that doesn't fit into their world, and then suddenly it's just a blob because that's their truth. A male is a male until he just decides that he doesn't want to be. A one-night stand is a consensual act until you wake up the next morning with regrets. And then suddenly it becomes rape. Because apparently the only time that the actual truth is worth a hill of beans to anybody these days is if it's convenient. And a society cannot exist solely on your truth. And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Chicago shooting fatalities outnumbered U.S. military deaths last year 18-1. It is now statistically safer to be a soldier in Afghanistan than it is to be a 16-year-old kid standing on a street corner in the Windy City. And what is the compassionate left doing about this bloodbath? Absolutely nothing. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRCTV, and this is your reality check. According to the Chicago Tribune, there were 664 homicides in Chicago in 2017. According to the Department of Defense, there were 37 casualties in the U.S. military in all of its operations throughout the entire globe, meaning Chicago shooting fatalities outnumbered military deaths last year 18-1. You are actually less likely to die if you are a soldier in an active combat zone fighting terrorists than if you're a teenager standing at a bus stop in Englewood. Now, of course, you're not going to hear any of this from the leftist media, nor are you going to hear it from the liberal politicians who have been in charge of running Chicago for more than a century, and whose hands are currently covered in all of this blood. See, the same far-left politicians that claim to care about poor people, minorities, and single-parent families are the same politicians that prop up systemic abuse, joblessness, and violence. The same liberals that rant about guns every time a white person picks one up are the same ones who turn a blind eye to the hundreds of black residents who are getting mowed down every single year in the supposedly gun-free zones of Hyde Park and North Lawndale. Oh, see, they care about gun violence when they can use it to their political advantage, but when it exposes their rotten policies and empty promises, all of the bodies lying dead on the street corners of Southside become forgotten names and faces that can barely even make the local news. Cutting taxes did not do this to Chicago. Cracking down on immigration did not do this to Chicago. Left-wing policies that perpetuate cycles of government dependence, unemployment, and poverty, that's what did this to Chicago. But then again, liberals don't really have a habit of taking responsibility for their actions, do they? And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. In 2017, we successfully pushed back attacks on the Second Amendment, stood up for religious freedom, and went into battle for our right to free speech. Now, in 2018, let's take on a new frontier, stronger than we ever have before. Let's start fighting for the right to life. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRCTV, and this is your reality check. Today, on the first day of 2018, roughly 3,000 children were killed in their mother's wombs before they ever drew their first breath. And that's just on day one of this brand new year. But that's not the end of the story. The pro-life generation is stepping up. In 2017 alone, 33 Planned Parenthood clinics closed their doors for good. Multiple states passed laws restricting abortions in the third trimester and protecting unborn children who've been diagnosed with Down syndrome. And now is the time to fight even harder. Let's be braver than we've ever been. Let's be louder in our defense of innocent life. Let's stop shrinking away from conversations about the evils of abortion because we think it may cost us a friend, or because we think we might face some opposition. Let's stop hiding behind our keyboards and start speaking out. Be bold. Women, don't you dare let anyone convince you that you are not strong enough, smart enough, or educated enough to be a mother to your own child. And guys, don't buy into the leftist lie telling you that just because you don't have certain body parts, you don't have a place in this battle. You do. And it's right there on the front lines. A grown man who does not defend innocent, helpless children isn't much of a man at all, so put on your big boy pants and get in the game. Abortion is our Syrian genocide. It's our Hotel Rwanda. This is America's Auschwitz. And it's happening right now every single day behind shiny doors in the back rooms of taxpayer-funded clinics. 3,000 American children will be killed before they are ever born on the first day of 2018. It's up to us to decide how many will die on the last. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and welcome to the new year. In the latest media attack on the Trump family, the Wall Street Journal ripped into first daughter Ivanka Trump this week for wearing her own clothes. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRCTV, and this is your reality check. The Wall Street Journal boldly revealed this week that the fashion designer turned president's daughter has had the audacity to wear a stunning 46 pieces from her own clothing line during official appearances as one of her father's presidential advisors. The outlet complains that Ivanka's worn her dresses on stages, during appearances on Fox News, and even in her own Instagram photos. Never mind that she's a successful businesswoman whose clothing line actually symbolizes the benefits of American capitalism. Instead, the Wall Street Journal complains that by wearing her own clothes, Ivanka is using her position as a presidential advisor to give her brand free publicity. Perhaps the only thing sadder than the career trajectory of the poor sap who had to dig through Ivanka's fashion trends is that once again, a formerly respectable outlet such as the Wall Street Journal is publishing such pointless drivel in the first place. After all, it's not like we're mounting towards a nuclear showdown with North Korea or anything. Now, this is also the same media, mind you, that once praised Michelle Obama for wearing a $12,000 dress that cost more than the median global household income. So if Ivanka Trump dares to wear clothes from her own clothing line, she's a shameless opportunist. Had she foregone wearing her own clothes and instead paraded around in somebody else's gazillion-dollar designer duds, the media would have blasted her for being a diva that's ridiculously out of touch with the average Target-clad American. If she'd worn something from the latest Kohl's catalog, she'd have been slammed as frumpy or accused of pandering to the little guy. It's the same media that rips Trump up one side and down the other, regardless of whether or not he's throwing $750 a plate dinners at Mar-a-Lago or scarfing down a value meal at Mickey D's. His daughter can't win for losing, and neither can he. Except that, wait, he already did. And that's the media's real problem, isn't it? And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. We sent crayons to help soothe your wounded soul, but we forgot to remove the offensive, privileged colors.
We sent bubbles to surround you, but their rainbow prism reflections do not accurately correspond to the diversity of the entire gender rainbow.
We tried to distract you from political realities by using fairy tales, not realizing the hurt that would cause to those who identify as fairies.
We worked to cover up statues of historical figures that offended you, but sometimes we did it with white sheets, and that was wrong.
In our efforts to prevent you from being offended, we at Save the Snowflakes have hurt your feelings, and we are sorry. New studies have shown that even the word snowflake is offensive to snowflakes. So after dedicating a year working to protect feelings, we are disbanding, realizing that we cannot protect those that so eagerly seek to be easily offended. To those that supported our efforts over the past few months, we thank you, and we will always hold a special safe place for you in our hearts. Welcome to the end of 2017, and if you thought that the election of Donald Trump would bring about the end of the world, open wide, and get ready to eat a crap ton of crow. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes, you're watching MRCTV, and this is your reality check. So it's nearly the end of 2017, less than a year after Trump took office, and here's what we've accomplished so far. Since January, the Trump administration has nixed 67 federal regulations, saving American taxpayers $570 million a year in regulatory costs. Illegal alien apprehensions at the southwest U.S. border hit a 17-year low. On top of that, immigration officials arrested 30% more illegal aliens last year than they did the year before. Under the Trump administration, the stock market has had its best year since 1945. We've added more than 1.3 million jobs to the economy. Unemployment is at its lowest point since 2000, and economic optimism is at an 11-year high. Trump turned more than 2 million acres of land back over to the state of Utah, marking the largest reduction of national monuments in history, and reestablishing the right for states to do with their own land as they see fit. He's worked out international trade deals worth more than $270 billion, and we are finally out of the money-sucking train wreck that was the Paris Climate Agreement. We now have a Supreme Court justice who will fight for our constitutional rights and not arbitrarily legislate from the bench. And all of that, that's just a few of the awesome things that we have accomplished in just the past 11 months. Now, does that mean that everything's rosy? Heck no. We're still living with the seemingly eternal butt boil that is Obamacare. Tax cuts have yet to be implemented, and our border is still very much without a wall. But those who predicted that 2017 would be the end of the world as we know it are looking more than a little stupid, because the last time I checked, the world, still very much there. And our little corner of it looks a heck of a lot better than it did a year ago. And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. California Senator Dianne Feinstein is now predicting that 2018 may be the year of the woman. But is that really true? Well, as a woman, I say not likely. Here's why. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes, you're watching MRCTV, and this is your Reality Check. So the year 2017 saw the rise of the Women's March, the Pussy Hat Brigade, and the Me Too movement. It was the year of exposing sexual harassment secrets and confronting the so-called patriarchy. But that's not all it was. In 2017, roughly 500,000 little girls were murdered in America alone before they ever drew their first breath outside the womb. In 2017, as many as 20 million women worldwide were exploited in the sex slave industry. In 2017, an estimated 3 million girls globally were subjected to female genital mutilation. 2017 may have been the year of the feminist, but it won't bring the year of the woman. It will not be the year of the woman until every little girl in the womb is safe from the possibility of being killed before she is even born. It will not be the year of the woman until girls across the globe are no longer at risk of being mutilated by a radical fringe of a religion that we are too busy pandering to. It will not be the year of the woman until we stop debating who's to blame for slavery that ended 160 years ago and instead start focusing on the human slavery that is happening right now. An epidemic that affects millions of women and little girls worldwide and that no stupid hashtag campaign on Twitter is going to fix. Yes, 2017 saw progress for a relatively few women who felt empowered to speak out against their abusers. But it also brought the embarrassing sight of hundreds of thousands of women in pussy hats marching around with cardboard vaginas who think that screaming about infanticide makes them more appealing. 2017 was not the year of the woman. 2018 won't be. But perhaps one day when life is valued and feminism is more than hairy armpits and the right to kill your own child, perhaps then it will be. And that's your Reality Check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. So it turns out that the entire probe into Trump's supposed Russian collusion may have been a giant scam cooked up by Trump-hating FBI employees. And if this comes as a surprise to you, congrats. You're a moron. Hey guys, I'm Brittany Hughes. You're watching MRCTV, and this is your reality check. Text messages between a top FBI official named Peter Strzok and his FBI lawyer girlfriend Lisa Page were unveiled this week. And since the media certainly won't tell you what's in them, here's the nutshell. In the messages, Strzok basically admitted that the FBI targeted Trump during the campaign as an insurance policy to guarantee that he wouldn't win the election. And when that worked about as well as a bikini in a blizzard, Strzok then helped launch the Trump-Russia probe. Shocked? Why? There's been exactly no evidence that Trump colluded with Russia, but we're still beating away at that dead horse. But while the media's been running around like JoJo the neighborhood crackhead looking for invisible Russians, Strzok, the avid Hillary-loving Trump hater, was busy leading the Clinton email investigation and supervising the Mike Flynn interviews. Nope, no conflict of interest there. At this point, there is literally more evidence that the FBI conspired against Trump than proof that Trump conspired with the Russians. So now here's my question. Where has all of this information been for the last, year and a half? Because you would think that a media that's been keeping such a close eye on this whole investigation might have tripped over this little tidbit at some point. But of course not, because they wouldn't even consider for one microsecond that Trump may actually be the target of a witch hunt, not because he did something illegal, but because Hillary lovers inside the FBI hate his guts. No, it's been much more important to talk about Melania's shoes, or Barron Trump's t-shirts, or how many Diet Cokes the president drinks per day. There is a reason that most Americans say that they do not trust the modern news media, and it is probably because you could take the entire lot of it, throw glitter on it, and dress it up as a unicorn, and it would still look like a giant pile of dog crap. Kind of like this Russia investigation. And that's your reality check, America. Subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there. Are you an emotionally stunted liberal college kid? Does the stress of having to take actual responsibility for your own life get you down? Are you burdened by the overwhelming pressure of having to attend 4 classes a day on underwater basket weaving while also working a part-time job outside the comfort of your parents' house? Then here's a real, factually accurate sentence in 2017 America that's just for you. The University of Massachusetts Amherst is now using Care Bears to help stressed out adult college students. Care Bears.
This is wonderful. We should celebrate.
Brad Palumbo, a student at UMass, tweeted this photo of a display decorated with Care Bears posted in one of the university's dorms. Theoretically, to help fully grown adults who apparently cannot remember how to tie their own shoes. Perhaps most insulting is that the display was erected in Birch Hall, a dorm building for students at the school's honors college. One Care Bear reminds you to get plenty of sleep.
I just want to take a nap.
Another says to make time for fun. Yeah, the University of Massachusetts is actually using cuddly stuffed animal cartoons originally designed to placate overtired 4-year-olds to comfort adults old enough to be drafted for war, reminding them to surround themselves with supportive people and promote a healthy and nutritious diet. In what was a clear and inexcusable oversight, the UMass display omits reminders to always wash behind your ears, share your toys with the other kids in the sandbox, and if you get a boo-boo, make sure you have your mommy kiss it and make it all better. And yet we wonder why America is going to hell in a handbasket.
We should have played together.
Courageous women across Iran are opposing an oppressive Islamic theocracy by removing their hijabs in public. And where's the pussy hat crowd? Where are the Western feminists? Oh, that's right, they just spent the last year fetishizing and normalizing the hijab. They spent the last year applauding global corporations for adorning athletes and Barbie dolls with it. They embraced the hijab to such a degree, they literally made it the symbol of their resistance movement. How can you claim to represent women's rights when you're genuflecting to a symbol of oppression for women across an entire continent? The first thing women in Syria do when they're liberated from ISIS control is to remove their hijabs with glee. The very first Arab feminist groups 100 years ago discarded their hijabs in protest. Now Iranian women in 2018 are doing the same thing, being beaten for it in the streets. And how does the left respond? With complete silence or even tacit support for the Islamic regime. How many times has the official Pussy Hat Women's March even tweeted about Iran? Oh look, it's zero! Another case in point, the relentless cancer that is BuzzFeed.
People are using an old image of a woman without a headscarf to illustrate the Iran protests.
Old? Really? So how old is it, BuzzFeed? 6 months? 2 years? 5 years? Oh, it's literally from last week, as you admit in your own article. It's from December 27th, just a week before you published the article. So you accuse me of misleading people when you're the ones misleading people by claiming an image is old when it isn't even old. You're the ones literally spreading fake news to side with an oppressive Islamic theocracy against women's rights. Oh no, people are using a 4-day-old image of a woman spurning the forced modesty culture of a misogynistic death cult that we peddle to our virtue-signaling white guilt-ridden readership as empowering, and it's totally fucking up our victim narrative. BuzzFeed claims that images of women removing their hijabs to protest against government laws which force them to wear hijabs have nothing to do with the anti-government protests. In fact, it's got so little to do with the anti-government protests that it literally became an iconic symbol of the anti-government protests. Who wrote this BuzzFeed piece? Rose Troop Buchanan? Yeah, let's check that white privilege, Rose, and listen to what actual Iranians have to say about this. I'm from Iran, and every day many women are arrested because they didn't cover their hair properly. If a woman doesn't wear a scarf at all, she will be lashed. The people of Iran have made this image a symbol of their resistance, but to many leftists, everything is about American politics and their opposition to the right. The world is bigger than the US, BuzzFeed. You have taken the side of the theocrats against the oppressed. Yeah, a little more listening to people who are actually from the country, BuzzFeed, and a little less white-splaining, please. A little less throwing actual feminists under the bus with your fake news. And didn't you just know Miss Sharia law is reasonable Linda Sarsour would have to insert herself into this? Why does the right wing suddenly care about women in the Middle East? They didn't care about the Rohingya Muslims. Yeah, except they did. And Sarsour herself only tweeted about it when it became a global news story. Hey Linda, I was calling for women to liberate themselves of their burqas 4 years ago. And what were you doing? Joking about how FGM victims like Ayaan Hirsi Ali should have their vaginas removed. And you've got the nerve to call yourself a women's rights advocate? Bullshit.
She's a fake feminist. Ms. Sarsour is not interested in universal human rights. She's a defender of Sharia law.
Noticeable that male far-right bloggers, commentators in the US and Europe are going viral by deciding who is and who isn't a true feminist in relation to the West's response to Iran's protests.
Yeah, noticeable how many far-left bloggers, commentators in the US and Europe are fetishizing the hijab, a symbol of patriarchal oppression, while actual victims of patriarchal oppression in Iran liberate themselves of it. Hey lefties, feminism isn't about virtue signaling on Twitter about how much you respect women while you sexually abuse them behind the scenes. It's about literally risking incarceration and torture to stand up for actual women's rights. Drink it in, because this is what a real feminist looks like. This is what a real feminist movement looks like. It's not about your corporate feminist hijabi-friendly Islamophilia. It's about risking it all to be a beacon of true freedom and true liberation for women around the world. Please click the big red button to subscribe. It really helps me when you do that. And click the bell to allow notifications so you never miss a new video.
Crazy for trying and crazy for crying, and I'm crazy for loving you.
President Trump's fitness for office is now the top story in the country.
So while Hillary coughed and stumbled her way through the campaign trail for months, CNN lectured us for months about how we were all outrageous conspiracy theorists who are peddling fake news for merely questioning her physical health.
With that in mind, watch Sean Hannity spread conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton's health. That was reckless speculation by Sean Hannity. She is now physically fit to be president, and there's no doubt about that.
But when some crackpot writer known for inventing fake quotes, who admits in his own book he's not certain the content is true, distance diagnoses Trump as being mentally ill, the same guy, CNN's Brian Stelter, says it's incumbent upon journalists to treat it with credibility.
But many Americans are worried, and journalists need to cover that. It is fair to ask about his fitness. Conspiracy theories about Hillary Clinton's health. That was reckless speculation. It is fair to ask about his fitness. Reckless speculation. It is fair to ask about his fitness. Reckless speculation.
The New York Times' Maggie Haberman said Trump fanned conspiracy theories about Hillary's health, but despite admitting that parts of Wolf's book are, quote, flat out false, she's doing exactly the same thing about Trump's mental health.
Something is unleashed with him lately. I don't know what is causing it. I don't know how to describe it.
Over a dozen lawmakers met with a Yale psychiatry professor for 2 days, after which she told them Trump was falling apart under the stress. What was one of her primary pieces of evidence for this claim? That Trump CNN wrestling tweet from 6 months ago. Well, I might as well end the video now because that's a watertight argument, isn't it? Case closed. Trump's not crazy. You are. You've been driven crazy by Trump. Many of you were crazy enough to believe that a joke about Trump watching the Gorilla Channel for 17 hours a day was real. That's how maniacally obsessed you are about Trump. From 2 scoops of ice cream to the way he drinks from a cup to Trump's well-done steak with ketchup. You just can't stop thinking about every minute detail of his existence. Seriously, the media is like a jilted ex-lover that Trump dumped who is now relentlessly stalking him. They even hide in bushes to try to catch a glimpse of his golf swing. They create delusional alternate reality websites in which Hillary won the election. These are not well people. You want to talk about crazy? I'll tell you what's crazy. Rioting in the streets because you don't like an election result. That's crazy. Trying to shoot up a baseball field full of Republican congressmen. That's crazy. Burning down college campuses because you don't like someone's opinion. That's crazy. Thinking hurricanes are Mother Nature punishing Americans for voting for Trump.
You know, you're watching these hurricanes now, and it's hard, especially while promoting this movie, not to feel Mother Nature's rage.
That's crazy. Holding Trump's mock severed head aloft with a deranged sociopathic look on your face. That's crazy. Screaming at the sky like escaped mental patients because you're so triggered by Trump.
Oh, we should film it.
That's crazy. Endorsing a group that's listed as a terrorist organization by the DHS and FBI. That's crazy. Thinking that Trump's tweets are going to make the planet uninhabitable.
We all live in a world that could literally be ended in terms of a habitable planet because of this sad man's insecurity.
That's crazy. And all of that craziness was brought to you by the mainstream media's hysteria. The same people responsible for 1 solid year of rampant, fevered, anti-Trump madness are now calling Trump crazy. I mean, talk about projection. You want to see crazy? Don't look at Trump. Look in the mirror. You're literally having to take medication to treat your Trump derangement syndrome. You're probably not the most credible voices to be calling other people mentally ill. When you look like you've just escaped from a straitjacket after bouncing around a rubber room for a few hours, maybe you shouldn't be questioning others' psychological stability.
You're a nut. You're crazy in the coconut.
Trump derangement syndrome is so widespread, it qualifies to be added to the next diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders. Hillary Clinton's former chief speechwriter admitted that Trump literally causes mainstream media reporters to be afflicted with mental and physical ailments. Oh, there's an epidemic of crazy sweeping America, all right. But patient zero is in the newsrooms of CNN and MSNBC. It's also pretty ironic how you're all so obsessed with this idea that Trump colluded with Russia, when the tactic of declaring your political opponents to be mentally ill is straight out of Soviet Russia.
These psychiatrists now who are trying to diagnose without ever having met the man, that's what they did in Russia. I represented dissidents who they locked up in mental hospitals. That's what they did in China. That's what they did in apartheid South Africa. How dare liberals, people on the left, try to undo democracy by accusing a president of being mentally ill without any basis.
Look, you've tried everything to achieve your coup d'etat. The recount failed. Death threats against the electors failed. Your fake Pissgate dossier failed. Your phony Russian collusion narrative failed. Now you think the 25th Amendment's going to do it for you. You think a majority of Trump's own cabinet and then 2/3 of both chambers, both of which are controlled by Republicans, are going to declare Trump insane and just remove him. There's more chance of Hillary Clinton representing America in ice skating at the next Winter Olympics. It ain't gonna happen. And to believe it could, you'd have to be crazy. Here's an idea. And hey, call me crazy, but why not get an actual policy platform and, oh, I don't know, win an election? Until you manage to do that, please, do us all a favour and just dial back the crazy.
Crazy for trying and crazy for crying, and I'm crazy for loving you.
Please click the big red button to subscribe. It really helps me when you do that, and click the bell to allow notifications so you never miss a new video. So by now you all know the story. Prancing imbecile Logan Paul uploaded a video of himself discovering a dead body in Japan. He then proceeded to laugh and giggle about it throughout the rest of the video. The video received over 6 million views before Paul decided to take it down and apologize. Now notice how I said Logan Paul decided to take it down, because YouTube didn't decide to take it down. No. Despite being a direct violation of YouTube's policies on violent or gory content posted in a shocking, sensational, or disrespectful manner, YouTube decided to not only leave the video up, but to help it go viral by placing it on their curated trending page. Dab on those suicide victims. The video, which showed Logan Paul laughing at a dead body, was flagged and reported to YouTube. And after manually reviewing it, not only did YouTube decide to leave it up, but they refused to even slap an age restriction on it. Meanwhile, people who re-uploaded the video received strikes for graphic content. Even people who just showed clips of Logan Paul laughing and didn't even show the dead body had their videos taken down. Well over half of my videos are demonetized and in some cases censored entirely. But Logan Paul can show a rotting corpse, laugh it up, and he gets on the trending page, while the algorithm relegates my content because I dare to criticize Islam. A Jordan Peterson video in which he merely defends himself against baseless claims he's a white supremacist gets removed all across Europe. PewDiePie makes some edgy jokes and is subjected to an international demonization campaign. But some airhead celebrity can zoom in on actual footage of a dead suicide victim while pissing himself with laughter, and no one bats an eyelid. This rapper can depict a child being hanged and get added to trending. 27 million views, no age restriction, nothing. What does this tell us? That there's a tier of VIP YouTube users who can wantonly violate YouTube's policies with absolutely no consequences whatsoever. Casey Neistat tries to raise money for the victims of the Las Vegas massacre and has his ads removed because YouTube's policy is that it can't run ads on videos about tragedies. But Jimmy Kimmel can exploit the same massacre to go on a pro-gun control rant, and not only is the video monetized, it's #1 on trending. I mean, what does it take to get this VIP pass where you can just break all the rules all the time? The right political opinions, the right corporate partnerships, because that's what it looks like. And as to the Logan Paul video itself, there are a bunch of people on the right who are bashing the Snowflakes for being offended about what he did. And they're missing the bigger point. Logan Paul wasn't expressing an unpopular political opinion. He was contributing to the collapse of Western civilization, so all the shit that he gets in return is thoroughly deserved. From idiots literally shooting and accidentally killing themselves, to morons who cement their heads inside microwaves for YouTube views. This desperate attempt to out-degenerate the previous person is a reflection of the nauseating, nihilistic narcissism that pervades Western culture. And yeah, we all pull our little tricks to get more clicks, but you have to see this in its wider context, which is the relentless cancer that the Paul brothers have inflicted on YouTube and society in general since their belching sewer pipe of ADHD drivel went viral. Drivel that YouTube sees as being more important to promote than enforcing their own policies, while punishing everyone else for the thought crime of having the wrong politics. Please click the big red button to subscribe. It really helps me when you do that. And click the bell to allow notifications so you never miss a new video.
America has always been a country where you can have big dreams, but you have to be willing to work hard. It's been a country where we thought every person should have a better future and should learn and work to get that better future. I'm Newt Gingrich, and I want to ask you to join me in a series on defending America from the attacks of the left. As Americans, we believe that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But on the left, they'd like us all to be subordinated to dependency, to rely on the government, to have everything taken care of by bureaucrats who will then tell us how we should function and what we should do. And that's why, in this series, I want to work with you to make sure that we can answer the left, that we can defend America, that we can give our children and our grandchildren the greatest, the freest country in history. So join me in defending America. To put in context how radical and how anti-American the left's assault on religious liberty is, let's go back and think for a minute about the past, about how America came to be, about, for example, the Pilgrims and the Puritans landing in New England because they were seeking religious liberty. They were fleeing from persecution. About the religious intent of the colony in Jamestown, the first colony in the English-speaking New World, in which people went to church as much as 13 times a week. Consider that Pennsylvania was originally founded as a Quaker colony. Again, a place that people could go to practice their religion. Or the number of Germans who migrated to the United States seeking to eliminate and avoid religious persecution. Still experienced if you drive through parts of America and you see the Amish in their buggies, people who came here fleeing religious persecution. Or you can do what Callista and I did in both a book and a movie, Rediscovering God in America, and walk around our national monuments and realize how again and again, Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln, again and again were reminded the relationship they had to God, the belief that they had that America was a country in which God mattered and in which belief in God was central. So that's the background to a country which had truly come to believe that having its rights come from God. Remember the Declaration of Independence. We are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And now let's look at how badly it's decayed and how vicious and intense the assault of the anti-religious left is. Today, you're in a situation where if you really follow certain religious beliefs, you end up in court over things like whether or not you'll bake a wedding cake, whether or not you'll take pictures. And the forces of intolerance are prepared to use the power of the government to punish you unless you do what they want. In Oregon, regardless of your beliefs, your tax dollars go towards funding abortion up to the point of infanticide, since abortion is legal for all 9 months in the state of Oregon. In May of 2009, a pro-life nurse at a New York hospital was forced to participate in a late-term abortion in spite of the hospital agreeing that it was a direct violation of her religious beliefs and that they wouldn't force her to violate her religious beliefs. There is a continuing anti-religious tide of legal decisions, starting with the ban on school prayer. And again, the courts have intervened to be secular, to have judges impose their values and their interpretations, breaking the whole pattern of American history.